Showground to me is one of Orange's greatest assets. It's an area of land that is owned by the people and it is for the people.
It's not big enough to attract big shows. That's probably putting it in a nutshell.
I'd have to say it's not dear to me, it's dear to the community. We have to make that stand now to make sure that in the future we do have a showground.
The biggest problem is trust, and I can understand the Showground Action Group because they've been banded from pillar to post over the years by a number of councils over a period of time. They don't believe that they've got sort of a fair go, and so they're sort of saying, well, we've got a very, very strong legal document and we want you to honour that.
The deed of covenant. Yes, our stand is that there is plenty of scope for Orange City Council to operate under the deed of covenant, and we believe it protects the land for the community of Orange. A memorandum of understanding gives no such guarantees.
The deed of covenant is a very significant legal document. It operates under a Showground Act of Parliament, and through council being the trustee of the land, and it's land held by the Crown.
I'm not a lawyer to be able to answer that question with confidence. I think it should be revisited, and that the councillors of today make the decision on whether we think it's all one-sided. From what I've read, I think it is a little bit one-sided to the Showground users, or to the Showground.
Now, the fact is that the council and the council staff and general manager and councillors at this point believe that we're trying to negotiate a better deal for both to get some goodwill and a good partnership. If that doesn't come, it might be a case, and this is the problem, it might be a case of council will say, well, we can't operate under this current form.
Yeah, we're talking about the ratepayers' money going into a site that is pretty much gone. I mean, it's run down so much that all that I can suggest is that we do a bit of touch up work on it to get it, keep it operational, put money aside for a relocation. Now, that's not taking anything away from the show users. In fact, I'm supporting the show users, but I'm saying, let's start again. Let's go to a new site, brand new facilities.
We believe that there has been a deliberate attempt to minimise the use through the neglect of the showground. If the showground was in a better condition, if Orange City Council had better managed the facility would be more capable of holding bigger events. We believe that more things are going on there that's being recorded. We believe it's being very badly mismanaged.
A lot of the money that has been spent has been on administration of the showground rather than on maintenance activities.
We must identify where the money's going. We've had $100,000 identified as being administration and management fees, and considering the state of the showground, we can't see where that money's been spent. If a new trustee was to be appointed, they would absolutely have no idea what the cost was going to be, because we're not able to obtain from council the simplest things like how much is being spent on painting, how much is being spent on preparing for the Orange Show for the primary users, and that's their obligation to do that. What's the electricity costing them? Just the smallest things, we have no idea what's going on. So that must first be established. What is the money currently being spent on?
I've said publicly, and it's on record and nobody can query it, it's a disgrace. The current facility we have got is a disgrace. If it was a private facility or a businessman's facility, it would be closed down.
But isn't it a big disgrace because council simply hasn't put any money into it?
Well, they haven't put enough money into it, and there's certainly a good argument for that. I mean, the council staff will certainly come up with there's not insignificant funds being spent there, like hundreds of thousands of dollars over a period of time. However, it hasn't been enough to maintain or improve, in my opinion, the facilities there, and I take that point.
The first thing must be, of course, maintenance, proper maintenance, not just maintenance to help prop up what's there, to really establish that this is a showground that's going to be here in 20 years' time, in 30 years' time, in 40 years' time. And that's not a lot to ask. The drain needs to be piped through. That's a terrible risk to anybody going there. I don't know whether you've seen the amount of water that flows through the showground when it rains. It's a terrible risk, and the Show Society have had to put up with that through their show. Orange is not kind to the show at the time of year that they are forced to have it, because they have to have it at a time that the Showground Guild set. So they are restricted as to when they can have it, and unfortunately in Orange it will rain, and so they have that terrible issue of the water running through the showground.
It was okay, 50 years ago, 50, 60 years ago when it started, but the shows that are happening today, like rodeos for example, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a big rodeo at Towak where the stables are already there? There's already things in place at Towak. The room, we've got the room. We don't have the stables at the existing showground site because they've been let go for too long.
The only reason this has come about is not because of that document, not because of the action group. It was because of the suggestion that the showground might move. As the Mayor and I think Councillors' responsibilities as well is to look at a big picture and see what's there. We certainly then looked at a transfer or a going to the new, say, Towak complex, and that was bandied around. We had many meetings. The last motion that I put up from Council was that wasn't acceptable to the user groups. I'm not quite sure about the community at large, but we're talking about the user groups, and that we would spend the money here. That is still on the books, for example, in regards to that idea, and at this stage I think that's where it will go.
Oh, I think there's certainly a real threat that the showground, if the deed of covenant was broken, if whatever means was possible to get the permission of the state government to dispose of this asset, then of course we're faced with an absolute tragedy in that we are relocating perhaps just one event, we're talking about just the show, to a facility on the far southwestern edge of Orange. But it's not just about the Show Society and an annual show, it's about all the other activities that are held here for all the different groups in Orange and the region. The reality is the only developer that could afford to purchase this site would have to recoup that expense by intensive housing, and that's what we don't need in this part of Orange.
What would have to be their undertaking if you were to get this memorandum of understanding?
Look, I think there's just got to be cooperation. There's got to be an agreement that there'd be so much a year spent. There would have to be joint funding in regards to state government. We'd have to go with the action group, with the community, and also with the council to be able to upgrade it. Because in itself, I mean, if you sort of talk about, say for example, $200,000 a year, and it was say for 5 years, for example, it's $1 million. $1 million will not make that facility. It'll make it a lot better, and it's certainly on the way. But you're talking about 5 years, and it's still got to have a lot more money. The monies are not available. There's not grant funding like there was previously. The whole challenge before was, if it was, for example, going to move somewhere, and the state government, who basically owned the ground, were agreeable to selling it, and the funds go into another facility that they own the ground basically. You've got some seeding money, but that's not to me at this point. The recommendation that I put to council quite a few months ago now was to stay where we are at the current site and to spend $200,000 in the financial year, so that's got another 5 months to go.